Aloha everybody, my name is Jan Lemuri and we're coming to you from Moorea again for the second interview, and today we have a very special being with us. His name is Sundran. Hello.
Hello.
How are you doing?
Good. Amazing.
Sundran is a photographer, underwater photographer that has an amazing journey with whales and dolphins. And from the first time we met, we talked about dolphins, the journey, the synchronicity, the dreams, and it all kind of connects into this bigger picture that seems to have us on journeys of such similarity that it's really amazing to have you here. Thank you for being with us, and I'm so happy that we can do this together. How do you introduce yourself?
It's quite a challenge for me to really introduce myself. I did work in so many different parts. What was really important in my life was creativity. Since my childhood, that's really something that kept me connected to my heart, to my spirit, to the divine in a way. The thing I always did my whole life was following my dreams.
We're speaking about the dreams in the night.
Exactly. Yeah. If you say, like, in general now, maybe you say like I follow my dreams. It's not like, oh, I wish I want to do this or that, but really in a literal way, I had many dreams since my childhood that then actually I found out years or weeks or months later were basically time travel. I used to time travel in my dreams. And then I would experience what I had dreamt years or months before. I think that's interesting because the way how we met is kind of similar. So I didn't know anything about you. And then someone mentioned your name and I said like, oh no, I don't know Jan Lemuri. So I went on the web and I put in Jan Lemuri and I found your website. And then I started to read about your journey. It was so funny because so synchronistically to my life, to my experiences. And so I read a bit about your journey and your story on your website. And I saw like Jan started to have dreams with dolphins and whales. And then he started to travel the world and he went to the Azore Islands and to Hawaii. And the same happened to me. Like in 2008, I started to dream of dolphins. And for 1 year, almost every second night, I was dreaming of dolphins. A lot of different species, a lot of different places. And the dreams were all also really different in a way, but they all had some common thing. And that was that I was basically aware in the dreams. I was kind of lucid in the dreams. And the dreams were really clear, like really clear, like crystal clear. Sometimes even, I would say, even more real or more clear than what I experienced in the wake state. Yeah. In that time, I was living in Germany, in Berlin. I had some little experience with the dolphins. I saw some dolphins on the Canary Islands, on La Gomera, the island of La Gomera. And after this, the dream started. But I had never in my life before seen the humpback whales. I hadn't seen a single whale in my life before. And then 1 year later, in 2009, I just started to dream of humpback whales. And for 1 year, I was dreaming like that I was swimming with hundreds of humpback whales. Back then, I was really like intrigued, you know, I was like, why am I having these dreams? I knew that in my childhood, I already had dreams that I was swimming with dolphins when I was really little. And my parents, I grew up without television. So I never saw anyone swimming with dolphins. I didn't know that's a thing. But still I had these dreams. And as a child, I was always really connected to animals, but especially to dolphins, whales, and elephants. These were like the three animals that I felt really connected to and really attracted to in a way. Through the years, as a child, I used to draw a lot. That was my escape out of society in a way also. Like as a child, I had certain, for example, I started to lucid dream really early. And I had these, when you see what's happening in the future.
Premonitions?
Premonitions, exactly, premonitions. Also what I just did, I made a drawing, for example, And that drawing, 15 years later, that situation from that drawing happened, like everything. You have to imagine as if I would have made a drawing of the situation right now. Like us both sitting and like, you know, the background, the couch with the cushions, every detail was in that drawing. And 15 years later, that situation happened. I didn't realize I made a drawing from it. And 1 week later, I was on the attic of my parents and I found an old box with like full of childhood drawings of me. And I'm just going through them and I'm finding this picture and it's like exactly that situation.
So when the Dolphin Dreams started, did together your art, did it start to reflect? Did it change?
In that time, what I started to do was like I was creating synchronistic maps. It's like a network of synchronicity. This is one of my projects that I'm doing. I'm collecting synchronicities. Okay. I'm mapping them out. So I'm drawing them into these maps. So these maps are like networks. They look like mind maps. It's really interesting what is happening with these maps. People coming through these maps to me and they're saying like, oh, I know that person in the map, like that's my best friend from Alaska. They recognize a dream they had in the maps or these kind of things, you know?
So would you say that you drawing a map then enhances how much synchronicity happens?
Oh, for sure. That's what I can, what I witness, what I can watch.
So how would you then describe, if somebody asks, what is synchronicity, what would you say?
I think there's like different levels of awareness where at a certain moment, and I would say I'm at that point now in my life, everything is a synchronicity. Okay. So in a way, synchronicity also kind of disappears, yeah? But it's more like the more synchronicity happens in your life, it just shows how, you know, if you don't have any synchronicity in your life, I always say, I give an example, like, let's say this is the core of the universe, right? And this is you, yeah? And if you're like this, you know, like this, there's no match, and you think like nothing has to do with anything, right? Okay. So kind of everything is disconnected in a way. Okay. But the closer you come to the core, to your core, to the core of the universe, the more synchronicity you will witness. The closer you come to that point where it comes to a point of singularity in a way. And that's when basically your whole life is like you have that kind of revelation that everything is a synchronicity. I think that's why, you know, when we put our hands together in prayer, that's the exact position.
Aligning of the course. Okay. And to somebody watching right now through synchronicity maybe, how would you include them in this moment?
Probably everyone has had moments of synchronicity. And I think the more you pay attention to them, the more you can start to work with it. It becomes like a dance, you know, it becomes like a rhythm. If I get a sign or something, I don't say like, oh, this means that or da da da. I don't put so many labels on it, but just I witness them, I keep them in my awareness. Mm-hmm. I'm proving for myself where is the path going. In a way, synchronicity for me is like a navigation, you know? As if you drive in your car and you just look at how full is the tank or like the speed you're running. I'm watching the dashboard and I see like all the kind of different levels to it. But that's like years and years of working in a very profound way with synchronicity.
Yeah, for me, synchronicity is like knowing that I'm doing good on my journey, because if I'm aligned, then things start to unfold, and the abundance especially. There's so many questions we have about abundance.
Okay.
And I always told people to really do what you love doing. You don't need to first save money to go do it. I always knew I wanted to swim with whales and dolphins because of the dreams I had, just like we talked about. And I never felt like I needed to first save money to go do it. I always said, I'm just gonna go where the dolphins and whales are and figure out how it's done. This is the synchronicity, is that once you show up aligned to what your path is, there's gonna be things coming in that support it and that create some magic out of your journey where you were like, oh, this is better than I could have planned. And if I had money, I would just go to a hotel and then I wouldn't meet anyone and nothing would happen. But because I just jumped into something and didn't think about it really, because it was part of my deepest desire and passion and the soul journey, life came in to support it in so many ways. So this is, to me, the most amazing part of synchronicity really, is the support. There's so much support when you're doing the right thing.
That's because you go into the unknown. The more you have the ability to go into the unknown, the more this will show up. Because otherwise, if you say like, okay, like I go to this hotel, I have so much money and I do this, and then everything is still like in your frame of how you have experienced the world before. And the more you can be free, the more you can like step into the unknown every moment, the more these kind of magical moments will come. And
so would you say that your maps are then maps of the unknown?
I'm putting things in where I don't know at the moment why I'm putting them in, but they are coming to me, and that's in that way I'm working with the unknown. But at the same time, I have to say, like, this is it's always just a little micro puzzle piece. What I'm showing is like a piece of the grand unknown. Yeah. In my journey, when I was around 20, I was reading so much. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was reading for years and years and years. Every day I would read a book. Yeah, I was thirsty for knowledge. I wanted to know. I wanted to understand. I was always inquiring everything. Since I'm living here on the island, this has changed completely in my life. It's like the opposite. Before I was like, I want to know how it works. I want to know everything, anything. And now it's just like I'm so happy going into the unknown and actually living in that awareness that ultimately we don't know. Everything is a mystery. Mm-hmm. By embracing that, that's when the real magic starts to happen. Mm. That's why I love these kind of situations, like, for example, with you now, like, you invited me for this interview and I came fully unprepared. And that's the best thing. Yeah. That's the best thing. That's something I can really recommend. Do things in your life where you go completely out of the box that you had already experienced. Because then it really starts. That's where it starts. Mm. And that's where you can be here, right now. That's when the real knowledge just comes through, actually at the moment where you don't need it anymore. And that's maybe also interesting, what the whales are teaching me. Mm. You are not behind them. You're not trying to get to them. That's when they turn around and come towards you. The dreams that I had in 2009 with the humpback whales, they are happening now. I'm working as an underwater photographer and filmmaker since 4 years. And every season, I'm almost 4 months every day in the water, almost from morning till the evening. It's really intense. It's difficult for me to put into words, but it's very humbling because you can just witness how the moment you have contact, the moment a whale looks at you and turns to you and comes to you, and I shared with you, like, I was picked up by a whale multiple times, and I was laying on the back of the whale, and I was not going to the whale. I was not trying to get on the back of the whale, but the whale was like following me, going under me and slowly coming up, and boom, just feeling that massive body like lifting me up is something completely incredible to have that kind of experience. In that situation, I'm nothing compared to that whale. Yeah, that whale could do anything with me. The force, the size of the whale, the strength. And they are so gentle at that same, they are so massive and so gentle at the same time. And I think that's also like these two parts, like these two forces, yeah, when you witness them, when they come together and you come to that point inside of yourself, that's a really good place. That's a place where I'm so grateful to have found that.
So were you in the space of the unknown when this happened, when the whale, so you were in the water, let's just make it like clear what was going on. So you're out every day on the boat recording the whales. So here you are with the whale, and was there anything in you different, or anything in the whale different, that where a whale just chooses to come underneath you and pick you up?
I was totally not expecting anything. And that's always like when I'm in that state, when I'm in that place, these things are happening. Actually, my dream was to live on Hawaii. Our youngest daughter, my wife gave the name Maiva to her, a Polynesian name. But we didn't know in 2019 that we would move here. That was not planned. So I said to her, okay, at least 2020, next year, we have to move. I really want to move. I want to go out of Berlin. Don't want to stay in the city living with our 3 daughters there. We had the flight tickets to move to Hawaii. I wrote a letter for the school of my oldest daughter, who already started to go to school in Germany, to get her out of the school for 2 months. 3 pages with my project, my movie that I'm creating, The Calling. And the whole thing about the whales, the dolphins and everything. And I gave it to the school and they said like, okay, it's fine. You can take her out of the school, you get the permission. What happened? The US closed the borders and they closed all the schools in Germany on the day that I had asked for taking her out of the school. Wow. So the next day we actually got on a plane, and that was the last plane going out of Berlin directly to La Palma, the Canary Islands. We arrived there and they canceled all the planes after that. That was the last plane going out. And we stayed the first 5 months of the lockdown and everything. We were in La Palma and we were with friends in the mountains, and it was really beautiful. And I was doing gardening and we were like having real community, like really good community together. In this time, in these 5 months, I had another dream. And in that dream, we hopped on a plane and we all together were flying to Tahiti. I woke up from the dream and I said to her, hey, why are we not going to Tahiti, or better, Moorea? After 5 months in La Palma, we went back, we finished the apartment in Berlin and everything, we packed our stuff, and in September 2020 we were on the plane coming here with a one-way ticket. And I didn't know when I'm going to work. And I went on a whale watching tour, right? And we had the most incredible encounter with the mom and the baby, and it was really beautiful. We drove back to the harbor and the sun was setting and I was at the front of the boat and I felt so fulfilled. I was just like, I don't need anything, you know? I was like, okay, now if I would die on the spot, that's fine. Yeah, it's like I was so happy, I was so fulfilled. I was like, oh my God, this is so good. Like the encounter and everything. It was just like, I was just soaking it in. And in that moment, the people from the boat were like, are you interested to work on the boat? And I was like, oh no, I can't. I don't know anything about boats. I don't know how to drive a boat. I don't know like even, you know, there's these knots if you're a sailor or something. I don't know how to make any knots or like these kind of things, you know? And they said, no, if you would like to work as a photographer. I was like, what? I was even not aware that that's a thing. That's a thing I could do, right? And that's how I started to have this job. And that meant that I could go out for free every day to be with the whales, and then also to sell my photography and my videos to the people and earn some money on top. So that was like, you know, I had that was more than the cherry on the cake. I say like this is the infinite cherry. This is how I call that cherry.
So in 2009 you had a dream for the whole year of being in the water with hundreds of humpback whales.
Yeah.
Did you realize right away that this is in a way starting to...
These dreams, that was already a period where a lot of things changed in my life. For many years, maybe 13 years or something, every day I was practicing yoga and meditation. That was also a life-changing thing, and with that also my dreams started to change. I had other dreams, but that's for another time maybe. Okay. That's about crystals and finding crystals in different places, and then after I found the crystals, my dreams again changed and I was kind of guided to different places, and then I started to meet the dolphins, and now I'm with the whales.
So it is connected.
It's totally connected. Yeah.
Okay, so you have dreams about crystals, you have dreams about dolphins, and you have dreams about whales.
Yeah, and other things. But yeah, I try to stop myself in a way here because I know our time is limited. So yeah, let's.
So then, what would you say is the most important thing? What's on top? What's the most exciting?
The most important thing, I think maybe it doesn't matter really if it's dolphins or whales or crystals or something else. It's really about like that you connect with the things where you feel like the flame is igniting inside. That's like, just follow that. That's it. Like you said before, you don't need to care about the circumstances. You don't need to care about how the things are coming to you, because they will for sure, 100%, they have to come to you if you follow that. Mm-hmm. At a certain point, I started to do that completely radical. Like I would overthrow my own thoughts in a way, but I always it's not about like believing in something, I would say. It's actually the opposite in a way. It's about taking the beliefs out. And the more you can take the beliefs out and your view or your story that you are putting on it, the better it is, the more the space is opening up. I would say that's maybe one of the keys in my life, why I'm having these experiences on a daily basis. The only thing you need is courage. Mm-hmm. If you take your courage, we have certain fears for something. If you take the fear and with your courage, it's like the coil, and you put it into the fire, and that starts the engine. You use that actually for going forward, because the fear is like the border of doing the step into the unknown. The moment you can do the step into the unknown, you will be held. That's the experience of God. That's the experience of the existence is so much more broader and beyond what we can perceive, that if you start to have that experience, you know that you can trust that. At a certain point in your life, it just becomes natural. Probably on a chemical basis and whatever, your body is changing, your chemistry of your body is changing. In 2009, I had another dolphin dream, and in that dream, I was on a Polynesian island, and I met a Polynesian woman. I just saw from her face, and she had like a lei around her neck, a crown of flowers in her hair. And she said she wanted to show me something. I knew I'm on some Polynesian island, but I didn't know where. She brought me down into this bay, and together we swam out. And maybe 30, 40 meters out in the bay, there were these shadows surrounding us. And it was a pod of dolphins, a pod of spinner dolphins. They would just come, and she introduced me to the dolphins. So there was a whole thing going on, as if you were invited at a dinner or something, and you get like, yeah, this is Jan. And then the dolphins invited me into their tribe. They started to go like spiral around me and took me out like a bit further, deeper into the ocean, into the bay. Then they said that they wanted to share their sacred ceremony with me. And that people think this is a game, but actually it's their sacred ceremony. That ceremony was that I had to bring leaves to them. In the dream, I saw the leaves color like golden, like not green anymore, but not like, brown and already hard or something, but in between, in this golden color underwater, was like shimmering in front of me. And automatically, how it is in the dreams, I had the leaves with me, and I would let go of the leaves, and a dolphin would come and pick up the leaf with the pectoral fin, and then would make a whole performance with that leaf, and then swim a bit, like make some figures in front of me, and then let go of the leaf, and another dolphin would come and pick up the leaf. And basically they made a circle with the leaf, and in the end the leaf was floating in front of me. And the moment I touched the leaf, it was like an interface, it was like boom, like this beam was going through me, like an energetic beam shooting through my body, as if you close an electric circuit and the electricity is running or something. Then they explained to me the whole thing. In the dream, it was like going on for hours. So they said the circle it's like a wheel. And like a wheel, the outer circle, every dolphin, every human is doing in their own way, like playing with that leaf. It's like an artwork in a way. And that's very individual. So that's always changing through time. And like a wheel turning. But a wheel is turning around an axis. So the center of that circle, of that ceremony, contains a code. And that code stays the same. So that's the stillness of the center. And in that stillness, there's a code. And when you close the circle, you would receive from the center the code, and that's the beam that I felt in my body. So that code is going into your body, so you're downloading that frequency or that code into your body. And then you go out of the water, and they just gave me an example. They said, like, whatever is the most close to your heart in your life, let's say it's cooking. You go out of the water, and in the evening you invite some friends for dinner. The way you would prepare the food and the way how you would share the food with your friends, you would repeat the ceremony, but on a different level. And every one of these people would receive the code. And then, again, these people would spread it through. So they said, like, in that way, we are spreading the code like a fractal through the whole world. I have this dream in 2009. I'm living in a city in Berlin with 3 million inhabitants, right? I'm not close to the sea or anything. I have this dream. I wake up from the dream, and in that time, because I had all these dreams with the dolphins and then with the whales, I thought always, like, oh, before I die, I want to swim one time in my life with dolphins. I thought, like, you have to take a boat, you have to pay a lot of money, it's like a tourist thing, it's not really what I like to do, but I will eventually do it one time in my life before I die. When I woke up from the dream, it was super realistic, hyper realistic, and I was again in that state of lucid state. I was kind of aware that I'm dreaming. 4 years later, Geraldine was the first time pregnant. And I had heard some rumors about dolphin-assisted birth. It was like kind of like legends coming to me. And I was like, oh, I heard about like some women giving birth in companionship of dolphins and should be like the best thing you can do, and like they're scanning you with their sonar and things that made sense in a way from what I knew about dolphins. So I was really interested in that. She was pregnant in the 3rd month. One evening I was sitting down and I typed in YouTube dolphin assisted birth. And back in that time it was kind of hard to find real information about dolphin assisted birth. A little movie came out. It was called Naya Journey into Life, by a woman called Kimberly Nelly. Funnily, my daughter's name is Nelly. And I started to watch this movie, and I see this is a story about this woman who's pregnant, who had shamanic journey or something. She saw that she had to go to Hawaii to give birth to her child. So she sold everything and went to Hawaii. There she met a filmmaker who then made this little documentary about her and her pregnancy and the birth. So I didn't know Naya is the Hawaiian name for dolphin. And that's the daughter that is born in that documentary. I was watching the movie, and I see how she's in this little bay on Hawaii, and she's just swimming out, and she's like 30, 40 meters out in the bay, and there's these shadows appearing, and it's dolphins, and it's spinner dolphins, and they're just surrounding her. And I'm like, oh my God, like she's just swimming out from the shore, and there are the dolphins, and they're just surrounding her. And in that moment, I realized she has something in her hand, and she has a bunch of leaves in her hand. And not just some leaves, but exactly the leaves that I saw in my dream. And she lets go of the leaves, and a dolphin is coming, picking up the leaf, putting the leaf on the pectoral fin, doing all the moves that I had seen in my dream 4 years before. And I was like, what? I was like, oh my God, this is real. This is like the bay. It's exactly the bay how I saw it in the dream. She's just swimming out there. There's the dolphins. She's doing the thing with the leaf. In 2014, we hopped the first time on the plane to Hawaii. Back then, it was still legal to be with the dolphins. The first day I'm in the bay, I meet a guy on the beach who's collecting leaves on the ground to bring the leaves to the dolphins. I start to talk to him, and he's like, yeah, it's the leaf game. I found out there's this bunch of people who are doing this since years, and they all say the Leaf Game. They all call it the Leaf Game. And the dolphins told me in the dream, people think it is a game, but it's our sacred ceremony. And we are sharing something really important of our culture with your culture, with humans. Then I went out, I swam with them, and I experienced my dream in real life. And that event changed so much in me. That was the moment I realized, oh my God, this is real. This is not just some dream, something, nothing to do with my subconscious or something, but this is a completely different thing. I don't get it. I don't know what it all means, but I know that I have to follow it. And it felt so good to follow that. Because I did that and I took that decision to really follow my dreams, I'm here. That's, yeah.
So how does it then tie into being picked up by a whale? Where do the whales come into this picture? So dolphins give you a sacred ceremony, but they probably give you more than that, yeah?
We are so same, like somehow, you know? They just have this completely different body, that's it. And there's a different awareness also, but still, it's like I'm meeting another person in a way. All these stories will be included in The Calling. So that project is like, I would say that's my life project. And that's combining, so The Calling is made up out of 3 projects. The first is The Dreamers. So it starts with my journey, with my dreams. I'm talking about my dreams, how I'm following my dreams, and basically like traveling the whole world and meeting other dreamers also. We are going to form a group of people that are experienced dreamers with the dolphins and the whales, and that we are going to dream collectively. And that we are going to do like kind of like conferences with the whales, for example, in dream time. That's one part that will be in the movie. And then I have a project, it's called Blue Voice. And there I'm working with an amazing singer, Lea, from Germany. We've been in Hawaii and she's singing to the whales in Hawaii, and we recorded how they respond and how they come to the sailing boat and go around the sailing boat, and amazing, beautiful things. So that's one thing we share also as a culture is music and sound. That's in the cetacean culture and that's in the human culture. So that's a meeting point, I think. Music is something not fully rational, but then it's also very mathematical. So it's really interesting. It's a combination of both hemispheres and both parts, really, of being human. I have another project, it's called Deep Code, and that's about scientific projects that try to decipher the code, try to decipher the language of dolphins and the language of whales, and try to communicate with them in real time. My vision is that I'm also inspiring these scientific projects to look at the dreams, for example. I might work with a laboratory in Germany that is researching lucid dreaming. So that we can maybe find ways how to communicate with them through dream, but also through scientific method and technology. So that would be like the first time that we will be able to really speak with another intelligent species. And for me, that's an analogy of like we're trying to go to space and having this idea of speaking with extraterrestrial beings, but they are here already. How incredible would that be if we are able to talk to them?
Amazing. Yeah, like we talked about it before, the dream of communication, but also singing and everything, it totally overlaps with what I'm doing, and it's just amazing to have a similar dream, and we're both finding our own ways to get to it. So yeah, it's really exciting to meet you and to know that you're doing the same thing in a different way, and that probably at one point the synchronicities bring us together, and we'll see in what way. The light is going down. I have no idea how long this interview has been, but it's been very, very interesting to hear all of your different stories, dreams, and synchronicities. So thank you so much for sharing them. And before we go, would you like to give people any final words about the whales, the dolphins, the dreams?
For anyone who's watching this, if you have these kind of experiences in your dreams, you can reach out to me, because I'm looking for people who have profound dreams on a basis where you would say like I had like 10 or 20 dreams with the whales, and the whales are speaking to me or the dolphins are speaking to me, and I'm really open for people reaching out also for the calling and projects, or if you're working in a scientific project and you have some research going on with the communication. I'm always interested in contacts. Also, people who would like to sponsor or to help financially to create this project. The movie is going to be a cinema version, and probably there's going to be a series. So in that series we are going to go on expeditions. We're going to go maybe to Costa Rica, Dominica, to Bahamas with the spotted dolphins. We're going to meet the sperm whales, but work with these different projects and try to further really that connection, the cetacean culture and the human culture. Maybe people can comment, or people can
we'll put a link to
reach out
to
me.
To you.
Yeah.
Also, of course, if they want to come swim with whales in Moorea and they need a photographer, they can contact you in that way. Amazing things. The photos, the videos you post are really amazing. The stories of what the whales do when you're underwater with them. So we'll make sure people can find you. Yeah. So thank you for.
Thank you so much, man.
Yeah, looking
Thanks.
forward to in whatever way we're gonna connect and co-create together. So
more coming. Yeah,
for sure.